about 3 years now. Is that about right?
I would say 3, maybe 4.
Okay, and so I'm just keen to get a bit of background around where you were 4 years ago when we started working together. You had come from an administration background, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, and you're sort of already at the stage where you had a medium-sized team.
Yep, I had a team probably of about 15 engineers, and I think I had maybe 7 admin, and that was probably in the 20s. And then since then, obviously, I've grown. But at that time, I was in a situation where I didn't know what to do next with the business, because I was working in the business through admin, and all of a sudden you have to start working on the business, and I didn't know what direction I really needed to take. So okay. I sought expert advice.
All right. So thank you for that. I guess my question is, so you were an admin, but you didn't necessarily have a whole lot. Well, you probably had some HR skills, some sales skills, some.
Yes, I had a combination of things. All self-taught within the business.
Right. And so to go to the next level, and you had a bit of stuff around people happening. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sales, were sales there?
Look, the sales weren't there. And you came and did some PowerPoint things and did some workshops within our boardroom. Those were great because we were able to work on the strategic plan of White Refrigeration and what the goals are and what are the things we had to tick off. Yeah. So it actually had us starting to think differently to what we had done prior.
Okay. And so can you tell me a little bit more about the people issues? Because you had some people issues at the start, like they didn't have necessarily everybody on the bus.
Yep, we really struggled with that. What we ended up having is we had team members that were all about themselves. They did their job, they wouldn't share, they wouldn't talk, they wouldn't communicate. Nobody could find anything. If you asked anything, they wanted to know why you wanted to know that. And I found that quite frustrating, that you're trying to work a team atmosphere, but people are all about themselves, not actually the business.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so where is the business today?
So we've really sort of done a 360. Today, I would say that we've actually got a better team culture going now. I've put management at certain levels. We're at 38 staff now. And with that, so we've we've gone bigger. So we sort of went from what was about 24, 25 staff to now we're at 38 or so. Our engineers are at 22, 23 vans on the road, and then the balance of them is admin in varying roles. In that, I've also taken on another salesperson, and that's contributed to new leads and new work, which has slightly been out of our normal scope of works, but it's a niche market which is proving to be really good for us, and I hope it continues.
Okay, cool. And so in terms of complexity, because you're running a smaller business at the time, but you were very hands-on and manual, a middle management structure, and it's also paying for itself. Essentially one of the concerns people have had is that it's going to get worse. It's going to get more complicated, right? But one of the shifts that we worked on a lot was implementing systems to run the business or for people to run to reduce complexity.
That's right. Yeah. So we have put a lot of processes in place now, and we even have a process to write a process. So, excuse me, there's a lot of things that I think we've had to develop along the way. I've also had to empower my managers that are in roles and making them accountable and training them into the information that is required so that it's effective on the business. So whether it's a sales manager running a sales team and what their accountability is, the operations manager and what he needs to be getting out of the service manager's role, and how our actual service team is going, including an office manager, and she needs to be on top of where the admin stream is. Are we on top of invoicing, what sort of money's coming in, going out, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all the things that are really good now.
Okay, so in terms of like having your hands on the dials and understanding what makes profit and profitable cash flow, and being able to keep the plane in the air, so to speak, how has it changed for you? Like, is it less complicated, more complicated?
I believe that there's been a lot of epiphanies. Okay, we were working on gross margin and markup. We were looking at markup, not margin. Okay, so that was a huge thing for us. We'd just scratch all these numbers on a piece of paper and then put a markup of 30%. That was not how it should have been. And we know that now. So that's made quite a shift in everybody's mental when it comes to quoting. We've changed our systems. We now use Simpro for our job management. All our quoting is done through Simpro now, and it just gives you the numbers at the bottom of the page.
So one of the things that we've talked about really early on and we worked on intensively was dashboards, right?
Yeah.
Visibility. So everything's like visible now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Everything is visible, absolutely. And with Simpro, even though we've been only on it since the beginning of this year, what a difference. You can pull out reports and things. It gives you everything. And because we're using the one system for all our quoting, all our new leads, all our breakdown jobs that happen every single day, you can pull out reports for whatever you require. And there's so much clarity on it now, where before we just didn't have that information.
Yeah. So even though the business is bigger, it's not necessarily more complicated. It's actually simpler in some senses. Yeah.
But we've had to implement that.
Sure.
And that's where, you've guided me in a lot of ways of doing a lot of workboard things where you've, made it clear and understanding for me to understand without being too technical or high level. So when it's at a layman's term, it's so much easier to absorb and understand what effect it can have down the track.
Yeah.
So if someone got hit by a bus tomorrow, all that information is in there. We don't have to go, oh my God, we don't know where it's at, that type of thing. So there's a lot of process now that we never had before. And we had too much IP with one person. Now we're sharing the love so that there's always 2 or 3 people that know what's going on with jobs. Because when you've got clients who use us all the time and all of a sudden that person disappears, well, fancy noticing, you need to have someone who also they can rely on. Otherwise they go somewhere else because they feel that, oh, I don't know anybody, it's a new relationship, I'll move on to somewhere else.
Okay, and cool, great. And so tell me about the shift from like I to we. We've done a lot of work on that.
Yep. Well, I guess that's been quite handy in having a management meeting, which I have once a month with my whole team. And it's basically, if we're not working as a team and contracts, admin, service, engineers aren't working in the same direction, and we have an I mentality, we're never going to be cohesive and we're never going to get to the profitability that we really need to be. So now it's all about we as a team, and if you can't be a we on the team, get off the bus right now. And that's my mentality really going forward now, because I'm just not interested in, I'm not carrying people, I'm just not interested.
Okay, cool. So, and your tolerance has shifted around that, haven't they?
Oh, massively. Can you tell?
Yeah. Exactly. And so you can't, there's a lot less risk or a lot less room for error when you've got a lot more turnover and volume and things like that.
Absolutely. But you also need to know that I've got their back if they've got mine.
Sure.
And I'm always been a believer is that you treat everybody the way you want to be treated.
Sure.
And there's no room for anything else. And I've had it, and the people have just not lasted.
Right, yeah, exactly. And so the people on the bus now, how do they feel about the culture?
They're excited about the change. They're excited about my renewed enthusiasm, and they're here to back me now. And I can feel that I've got a team that we're going to succeed. So my 3 to 5 year plan will definitely be coming to fruition.
Yeah, great, Karen. Yeah, I can see that. And there was one other question. So in terms of your personal relationship with the business,
yeah,
have you got more time available? How does that play out?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have. I try and take Fridays off now, and I'm finding that really good. Like tomorrow, I am actually going to be working, but if I can take off every Friday or a half day every Friday, that is really good for me as a person, but it also means that I'm only having to be here 4 days a week. I'm working within the hours. I'm not doing long hours anymore because I've got other people that are taking accountability for certain roles. And if I've got to do their job, well, they may as well not even be here. So it's nice for me to have a bit of freedom.
Okay, great. And so the thing about this is really interesting is that they actually like it, right? It's not.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they're really pleased.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And so they've stepped into the shoes that, or into the roles that you've set up for them.
That is correct.
Yeah, cool.
Mm.
Great, thank you.